This really quick video, I just want to show you what the documentation means about the spacer size. So I'll link the documentation into the frame and rails video that I made. In the description you will find the link to the actual documentation, but I'll also put this video in just to make it clear. So what we're interested in is the height of this part. So from the base to here. So this should technically be 6.5 mm, but it will print out depending on how you sliced it at 6.6 and with some variation. Of course, this extra variation after this first decimal is more because of the textured plate, but this should be uniform across all the parts, so it should be fine. So what the documentation says is, if you're using 6.5 mm rails and whatever you measure here, the spacer should be 13.5 mm more than this, so which in our case would be somewhere around 20.1 mm. So I measured this one. It measures 20.12, 20.15, depending on where I measure, because what part actually makes contact because of the textured bottom. But yeah, we're right there where we need to be with these parts. There's also another option. You could continue to keep with the 6.5 mm by either slicing it at 0.1 resolution, or you can go ahead and sand the parts after you finish printing them to make sure you get the correct difference. So if 6.5 mm here, then this should be exactly 20 mm. So you could decide how you want to do it, but you just want to make sure the height of the spacer is 13.5 mm more than the height of this part. If you're using 6 mm rails, 6 mm rails, and if you are printing the 6 mm spacers, then whatever you measure here, it should be plus 14 mm. So what this should measure plus 14 mm of whatever this measures. So that's it. That was really quick. Just make sure you get this right, because it's quite crucial. Otherwise, the XY carriage is not going to move very well in the X direction, because the Y is going to be slightly misaligned and it's going to get tighter or looser as it goes to the corners. And so if it gets looser, then the center will become tighter. So just make sure that you get the spacing correct.